Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Madipe. I'm a corporate professional. I work as an economic consultant for an engineering company in the economics team. And today this video is going to be about tips in consulting, in economic consulting specifically. And if you haven't watched my previous video, I actually did a video explaining what it's like to work in consulting, what is consulting about, what I do in my role as an economic consultant. So if you haven't watched that, please check that out. I'm going to link it in the description box below. So yeah, today I'm just going to be doing tips in consulting. It should give you an insight to what economic consulting is about, and it should give you an insight into whether it's for you. But please, by no means, do not take this video as the only source of information in deciding whether you want to do economic consulting. Please do not do that. Please do your research. There's so many things that goes into finding out whether consulting is for you. Working as an economic consultant, depending on the company, depending on the industry, is very very different. You might love it in one company, I hate it in another company. So it's very different. So do not take my word as the golden rule or anything like that, but I'm just here to share my experience. So yeah, so this video I'm going to go into tips in consulting, and yeah, just let's get into this video. So my first tip when working as an economic consultant would be, when you're given tasks by your manager. So you're given tasks by your manager, and sometimes you can be given tasks by other members in your by other colleagues and other members in your team, and you can be given tasks by people in other teams and people in different offices. So that's what I've experienced. So definitely the projects I work on is not only projects that are given to me by my manager, but also projects that are given to me by people in other offices, depending on what work is happening at the moment. And the reason for this is that basically in my team, sometimes there might not be a project that I can work on within my team, and therefore I will need to jump on other projects, on other tasks, depending on the need of the business. So yes, because of this, you can be in situations where you've been given tasks by your manager, but also given tasks by other people within your team and people who are outside your team. So my first tip would be, always do the tasks that are set by your manager first. Always do those tasks first. So yeah, I've made this mistake where I thought because I've been given another task by that I felt like was more important or was more interesting by somebody else, I kind of put my the task that my manager has given me to a lower priority, and I did that first. But no, that should not be what do not do that. So you want to do the tasks that are given by your manager, because that's your line manager, that's who you report to, that's who's going to comment on how you're progressing. And yeah, so definitely do the tasks that are set by them first. And if you're in a situation where someone is giving you a task that seems to be high priority and the deadline is might be earlier than the deadline that was set by your line manager, please do let your line manager know. I'm sure they're understanding if there's a deadline, if there's an earlier deadline with the other project or other task that you're working on. They will understand that, and you should ask for permission, talk to them, explain the situation to them, and more likely they'll say yes, go on with that task first, and then you can jump on the task that they've given you. So it's just, at the end of the day, you just want to be transparent, you want to be clear, and you want them to know everything. So don't just assume that they know everything that's going on and the deadlines that you're working on. So my second tip would be, ask questions. Anytime you've been given a task, anytime you're being put on a project, a new project, an old project, whatever it is, always ask questions. Do not assume because you're a graduate, they've given you everything you need to know. You've gone to a meeting, if they've delegated tasks to every individual, then everything they've given you is all there, just get on with it. No, do not assume that you've been given everything. Ask questions. These managers, they have a lot going on. They're working on multiple projects, they have many deadlines. They're not going to remember every specific detail So it's up to you to make sure that you have all the materials you need to complete that task to the best of your abilities and to the highest standard. So definitely ask many questions. That's what I do. I try to understand a project inside out, and I ask questions not only to the project manager but everyone else on the team, or whoever I believe has the greatest expertise in the area that I have questions about. So yeah, that is definitely my second tip. My third tip will be always check your emails. Yes, I said this in my previous video, but I need to highlight on this. So sometimes you can get emails, obviously read emails that have been obviously directed to you, but emails that you've been CC'd in, so it's not directly to you but you've been copied in the email, also read them. The thing is, with projects you're working on, there are a lot of emails that go around. You're going to be working, you're going to be getting information from people from different teams and different offices. You're going to be also getting information from from the client side, from companies that are working with your company to deliver a certain task or project for a client. So there's so many stakeholders, so many people you're going to be working with, and so many people you're going to be needing information from to be able to complete a task. And now these emails going back and forth, information is being shared, and there could be critical information that is in that email that you need to complete your task. So yeah, do not assume that everyone's going to tell you or update you on how the project is moving forward. So you might be given a certain specific data that you need to complete a task, but then over time with consulting, things change. New data is being given, new assumptions are being made, and this could have been shared via email. And because you've been copied into the email, you might think it's not important, but it's actually important. So don't assume that people are going to update you on things going on with a project. So yes, definitely read the trail of emails. Keep up to date with things that are changing with a project, because projects are always changing. Clients are always coming up with questions, or they have new demands, or there's more recent data, or things are being changed. So that is the nature of consulting. Things are always changing. So you might be given a certain information in the beginning. That's not the same information you're going to use throughout the whole project. There are other information that is going to come in during the lifetime of that project. So yes, so make sure you read all your emails, and so you don't miss out on very, very critical information. Another thing with consulting is that this is not really a tip, but just a point to note that can help you decide whether consulting is for you, is that projects are very varied. Like for example, with me, I could be working on a project where I was specifically doing benchmarking for different airports. So understanding the performance of different airports, that could be understanding their revenue per employee, their revenue per passenger, their revenue by ATM, which is air traffic movement. So different benchmarks for to understand the performance of different airports. And another project I've worked on is understanding the economic environment for a specific area in the West Midlands, for example, understanding how active mode infrastructure can be improved in that area, and how active mode infrastructure could how a specific project in active mode infrastructure could benefit that specific area. So my role is varied. I could be working on a bid and gathering CVs for a bid. So yes, with economic consulting, you could be working on projects that are very, very different, that enable you to have different skills. So I could be working on projects where it's improving my writing skills. I can be working on a project where I'm using a software called GIS. I could be working on projects where I have to use strong Excel skills. I can be working on a project where I have to use apply a lot of economic theories that I've used during my time at university. So with economic consulting, projects are varied to the point where you can, you're working with you have like two grads or two grads in working in the same team, but they have very, very different skills. So you can have a graduate that's very, very analytical, or you can have a graduate that's more on the reporting side, or you can have a graduate that understands GIS. So it's very, very varied. That could be great for somebody, or for others it might not be so great. And another thing you need to know is that because the nature of consulting, depending on what project, what work the company has, sometimes you can be working on projects where you're not really gaining the skills that you want to gain. So for example, if you're a very analytical person and you love using Excel, it might not be the case that you're using Excel every single day, because the project you're on does not require the use of strong Excel skills. So that's just something to be aware of. So definitely, well, the tip you can take from that is just to have an open mind. Try to absorb as much as you can. Is always great. Whatever, the way I think is that no matter where you're working on, no matter what projects you're working on, you're always going to learn something new, and that's what you should take from every opportunity. Just every opportunity, you're gonna learn something. So yeah, you should definitely see that as a plus. My next point actually follows on from my previous one. Be open-minded. I know sometimes you could be working on a project where you're thinking, well, this project is not for me, this is not the kind of project I want to work on, because I'm not getting the skills that I want to gain. But you should be very open-minded. Definitely, with working on different projects with people from different offices, you build connections with people. So then later on, they might be working on a project that you might be very interested in, and your name will be on their radar. So be open-minded, be enthusiastic, be happy to learn, even on projects you feel like are not of interest to you. But trust me, you will learn something, and you can gain knowledge on a specific type of projects, whereby if another project similar to that comes up that requires a certain skill that you want to develop, your name will be first on the list. So yeah, be open to working on several different projects, build connections, and to create new opportunities for you. So yeah, that's definitely my advice on that. Another thing to be aware of is within consulting, there are times where you can get thrown into projects that are in the later stage. So you can be thrown into projects whereby you haven't been there from the start, and you still have to catch up. So you have to play catch up, understand what the project is about, and this happens because with consulting, we have specific deadlines, and we may need some more people to help with to be able to reach that deadline or that client demand, because client demand can change. Hence, we need to bring more people on the project to help out. So hence the reason for bringing people in at a later stage during a project. So yes, that's something to be aware of. Again, it's really good because it builds your it builds your skills, it builds your communication skills, it allows you to be able to absorb data on information within a short space of time. So yeah, that's something you need to be aware of. You need to be open to working on projects last minute, projects you may not understand so much about, but trying to draw out the most important information and just working and going along with it. Another important thing with economic consulting is that there might be the tendency to take on more projects than you can deal with. So because with consulting, some projects, for example, they can say, oh, Madipa, I want you to work on a project starting from next week, but then there isn't much to do on that project at that specific time because the client hasn't provided the necessary information that you need to carry out the task. So then you might then work on another project, but when you're working on, let's say the other project is project B. So when you're working on project B, then, let's say data then comes in from project A, and then, the deadlines may conflict. So it's very, very important to understand the number of projects you're working on, the deadlines for each project, because it's not always so clear. That's the thing, it can be vague because it depends on when the client sends the information. So it's kind of tricky in that sense, and you may not always get it right all the time. But what's important is to always understand what projects do you have at the moment, what are the deadlines. Always speak to people, understand, okay, ask them, keep up to date with the project manager and other colleagues on the team, so understand when the project is due. So essentially what I'm trying to say is just be able to manage your projects well, build, communicate with people that are going to be on the project with you, the project manager, other colleagues within that team, so you're able to prepare for your workload and be able to prioritize projects, and so you're able to meet the deadlines for all projects. So you don't want to be in a situation where all data from all the projects you're working on at a specific time all comes. If you know you can't meet specific deadlines, let the project manager know beforehand. So yeah, so don't just relax thinking, yeah, I've been put on 3 projects, because I've been put on 3 projects, it should all work out well. No, it doesn't happen like that. Sometimes projects have similar deadlines. You're given projects by, you're put on projects by people who are in different offices, so they don't communicate with each other, so they don't know that, oh, Madipa is working on 3 projects, so we need to make sure that the deadlines make sense for her so she can be able to achieve all the tasks within that time frame. No, that doesn't happen. So yeah, just bear that in mind. Another thing you should watch out for, this is a thing, as a grad, you don't always know what the right thing to do is, but I'm here to tell you and help you out, guys. So just listen to what I have to say. So when you've worked on projects, again, with consulting, you can be working on a project and it comes to like a pause. So maybe it's that you submitted the first initial stage, and you're waiting for the client to get back to you, or it's going through several stages where it needs to be audited, so there could be like a pause on that project. Or you can be completely done with that project and you're waiting for feedback from the client. Now when that happens, and there's that possibility where you can forget projects you've worked on and not remember to actually check in with the project manager. I think it's a very good habit to build, that when you work on projects, always try to understand, try and get feedback from the project, because you don't want to work on a project whereby you don't understand, you don't know if you've met the if you've met the standards of that the client wants, or the goals, you've reached the goals that were set by the client. So you need to understand that. If you have, that's great, then you know that you're on the right track and you're doing well and your team is doing well. If not, try and understand why. You want to be able to learn from projects. You want to actually understand what was delivered, what value you actually added to that project. And you're not going to know these things if you don't chase up and actually understand what has been done. So please make sure you understand, the projects you've worked on, the outcome of each project. It's very, very beneficial for you to be able to talk to other people about the projects you've worked on, and then you're able to work on more interesting projects, because you can talk proudly that, yes, I worked in this project and this is the value we added, or this is the value I added to that project, and this was the outcome of the project. The client was very pleased, and we're able to contribute to building a new station in a specific area that enables X amount of people to then travel to their workplace, for example. So yeah, that's just an example. But yeah, it's very, very important to understand the outcome of each project you've worked on. So please do chase up on with project managers and other colleagues that can allow you to understand what's actually happened with that project. Another thing you need to be aware of with consulting, I don't know if this happens with every company, so every company is different, so it doesn't mean this always happens, but the way it works where I work is that when you're working on a project, I'm contracted to spend about 40 hours a week working on projects, and those 40 hours need to be accounted for. So you have to do your timesheet, and you have the way it works is that you can either work on projects that are billable, and then you can work on projects that are not billable. So that is something you need to be careful about, because at the end of the day, the company wants you to work on projects that are billable, and they can see whether your workflow, whether you're working on projects that are billable or not. And essentially, if you have downtime and you're not working on billable projects, they're going to push you onto something that is billable. So because of that nature, it can be frustrating sometimes working on projects, because you can then be put onto projects that you feel like are not interesting, or you feel like are not adequate, or you feel like you're not building the necessary skills you want. And the only reason why you're pushing to that project is because you're not working on anything specific or anything that's billable. And you don't want to be in that position where sometimes you're working on a project where the project manager is giving you a specific amount of hours to work on that project each week. So if they say, for example, you're working on a project A and they said you can only spend 2 days a week, you can only book 2 days a week to that project, but then the work can actually, it is possible that the work can actually take you to, you can spend maybe 3 days on that project, on that specific task. But meanwhile, you can only book 2 days to it. So then you need to account for that one day you've actually spent, and you can't book it to that project. So it can get a bit technical and tricky. So just please be aware of that. Be aware of the scope. Make sure you have enough work to fill your that's billable, or to fill your timesheet. So yeah, that's just something to be aware of. Please let me know if you have any questions. It will be very interesting to know your thoughts on this video. If you want more videos like this, please comment down below. And yeah, please like, comment, subscribe to this channel if you like this content, and there should be more videos like this coming out. And I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.